everyone, good afternoon. Welcome back to a brand new video. Welcome back to my channel. So, it's time to do another ghost train story for the Travel Channel and for Discovery Channel. So today's story is the Headless Brakeman, So, the Headless Brakeman is takes place in New York. So, here we go, folks. Up in New York, there was a bomber brakeman named Todd Lee, who was dead heading home in a caboose one day. The night was dark and stormy and icy. One of Todd Lee's friends, who was the regular brakeman on the Sun, was out on the car tops as the train rounded a dangerous curve. It hit a washout, and the engine and the first 10 or 12 cars derailed. Tolly, who was unhurt, walked up to the train to see about his friend. The unfortunate brakeman was lying under one of the cars, decapitated. The shock of seeing his friend killed made Tolly settle down. He took a fireman's job on the same railroad and eventually became an engineer. He always tried to avoid the run. Sorry, folks, I'm yawning. He always tried to avoid the run that his friend had been killed on, but was eventually assigned to it. It was take the job or lose it. So he took it. One rainy, cold night, he was approaching the back curve where his friend had been killed. He saw a red light up ahead and threw the brakes into emergency. The firemen went up to the track to look, but couldn't see anything. Tolly was sure he had seen a warning light. So he walked up to take a look for himself. The light reappeared right away, and Tolly walked toward it. As he got closer, he could see that the light was an old-fashioned red road lantern as it swung from side to side in a warning signal or washout. The lantern seemed to emulate a man clad in the blue overalls worn by an old-time brakeman. Tolly was excited and began running towards the brakeman, yelling, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" When he got close enough to see the figure clearly, he stopped suddenly and shook with terror. The brakeman had no head. Suddenly, there was nothing there. Sure, that was a warning from his old friend. Tolly walked around the curve, and Tolly was right. There was a washout at the same place where the fatal wreck had happened so many years ago. After wrecking, the crew cleared the tracks, and Tolly brought his train home. He handed his recreation. So for Discovery Channel and for the Travel Channel, I'm going to show you guys something right now. I'm going to show you guys something, and this one is the Headless Trainman of Fairmont. Just before World War II, in Baltimore, Ohio, had a unique way of sealing engineers when too slow for the station Fairmont West. West Virginia, a chain hung over the track. It would hit the train, and the noise would tell the engineer it was time to slow down. One evening at dusk, a trainman was riding the car tops. He wasn't looking ahead and didn't notice the chain. It hit him over the shoulders, wrapped around his neck, and snapped his head off. The unfortunate man's body and head then fell to the ground. No one saw the accident. The train kept going, and the man's remains weren't found until later on, after the railroad removed the chain, but they couldn't remove the ghost of the trainman. People walking the track at dusk would see a lantern ahead at about the spot where the chain had hung. As they got closer to the lantern, they could see it was held by a headless man. If they kept walking towards the ghost, it would cross the track and disappear. Folks of Fairmount believe the phantom is the ghost of the decapitated trainman looking for his head. So this is what I'm talking about with the Travel Channel. This is what I'm trying to talk about with the Travel Channel and with Haunted Hotels here. Haunted Hotels has already been filmed on the Travel Channel, but Ghost Train has not. Ghost Train has not yet. So if you're a narrator or a producer, if you're a narrator or a producer or a director, you can put Ghost Train on the Travel Channel and Discovery Channel, just like Haunted Hotels was, okay? Haunted Hotels has already been filmed, but Ghost Train has not just yet. So I'm gonna show you guys Haunted Hotels, and you'll see what I'm talking about with Ghost Train, okay? All right.
Telling ghost stories can be fun around a campfire. But when the ghosts are the ones talking, it's positively terrifying. From adultery to murder, these hotels hold dark secrets, stories that would have been lost forever, locked within these walls. But history comes alive again as the ghosts of the past return to tell their tales. In this luxury London hotel, guests say a ghostly murderer returns to the site of his evil deed.
He was terrified I wouldn't go back into that room.
In Massachusetts, two sisters loved the same man. Now it seems they're back from the dead to continue their feud.
I never fail to feel that very uncomfortable feeling, like someone is saying, go away, we want to be alone.
And in the South, the vision of a female spectre shatters the calm of this French Quarter courtyard.
I'll never stay in Cottage 4. Never.
This is a world where stories, once silenced by death, come back to life. Where spirits speak. Each day, the streets of London are filled with tourists. From historical sites to nightlife, this city has it all, including plenty of rain.
Well, it's nice to see that the English summer has once more returned to us and it's pouring with rain yet again. But that might account for why London is the most haunted capital city in the world.
The misty sky and rolling fog create the perfect setting for a haunted tale and a jolly old London ghost tour.
For many is the late-night wanderer who's walking around this quarter of the old city when they found themselves confronted by the strange sight of a
Ghost tours trek through the city, stopping everywhere from the famous Tower of London to a quaint local pub. It seems there isn't a sight in this city without a ghostly tale.
The Romans left in AD 410, and since then we've had nigh on 2,000 years of demolition and rebuilding. And if you think about it, there's not one square inch of the city where when you walk across it, you're not walking on the tangible memories, the remains of millions of people who've lived on that site, walked across that site.
Many believe that rich and varied past carries an added bonus.
Ghosts only appear in places that are only the great happiness or great sadness. And if you think about it, London has it all.
Aside from a rich history, modern London has much to offer. Theatre, nightlife, and world-class shopping. And in the heart of the shopping district, the Langham Hilton.
We are literally about 3 blocks, about 3 minutes walk from Oxford Circus. Over there you have Oxford Street, you have Regent Street and Bond Street, Selfridges and all of the famous shopping areas of London. In its time, this was considered the utmost of luxury.
The Langham opened its doors in 1865, and for the past 140 years, tradition has been a mainstay here. But some say that afternoon tea and staff in traditional dress aren't the only things that are left over from times gone by. Locals believe the hotel is haunted, and ghosts from years past lurk amid the confines of the private rooms.
We received a letter from some clients that stayed here about a year ago. It was a mother and daughter, and they were in for 3 nights, and on the 3rd night both felt a presence, and the beds were shaking.
The shaking roused the women, and out of the darkness, an evil set of eyes was staring at them.
Obviously frightened both of them to the point where they didn't even talk about it until they were on the journey back home.
Several other guests have reported similar experiences, and while the hauntings are not always alike, they often happen in the same room.
We're actually standing outside the most famous room in the hotel at the moment. This is room 333, which is allegedly one of our very haunted rooms.
But who is this spirit who haunts room 333? Staff here say it's the soul of a killer, and in the late 1800s, room 333 was the site of his evil crime. A bed that shakes violently, sinister eyes that peer out of the darkness, and an evil presence that fills the room. According to eyewitness accounts, London's Langham Hilton Hotel is haunted, and the staff here believe they know the identity of the spirit that visits guests here during the night.
There's the story of this doctor who stayed here on a honeymoon with his wife.
When the newlyweds checked into the hotel, they seemed happy and very much in love.
They had a private dinner, and it was very romantic. And obviously retired to their suite at the front of the hotel.
But behind the happy facade lay a terrible secret. Just before their nuptials, the doctor learned his wife was having an affair. But he did not confront her with the betrayal. He had another plan. His anger drove him to murder, and just one drop of poison did the trick. The young bride had no idea she was toasting their union with more than just champagne. As she lay dead in their honeymoon suite, the doctor began to realize the gravity of his deed. Did he regret what he had done? Or was he simply fearful of getting caught? No one knows for sure. But hours after he killed his wife, the doctor took his own life.
He killed her. And then he committed suicide as well.
Over a century has passed since that fateful night, and staff say the spirit of the doctor still lingers within the hotel walls. Are his ghostly tricks meant to drive out intruders? If so, it's already worked with at least one staff member. His encounter with the doctor's ghost was enough to convince him to stay far away from the guest rooms.
He was working late one night. He noticed a dark cloak disappearing around the corner of the corridor. It didn't think too much of it at the time, but went around the corner expecting it to be a member of housekeeping doing their duties. And when he went around the corner, there was no one there at all. He's still a little shaken by it, but that's probably why he works down on concierge now and with the guests as a way to... he's away from the bedrooms now.
But not everyone can simply retreat to the lighted safety of the front lobby. And so, the unsuspecting guests staying in room 333 continue to recount their terrifying experiences.
In the early hours, he was woken, and on the opposite side of the room, he could see it like a fluorescent ball of light hovering in midair. And it was drifting very slowly towards him. And as it did so, it took on the form of a man in full evening dress. And he watched the man come towards him. And then he called out, "Who are you? What do you want?" And this seemed to annoy the spirit because it came at him a lot faster. And he panicked and leapt out of bed, and whereupon the spirit disappeared. But he then was terrified and wouldn't go back into that room.
Is it the doctor? Or is another spirit lurking in the dark? One member of the staff brave enough to spend the night in room 333 awoke to a loud bang. Before her eyes appeared a spirit, but this time it was a woman.
I kind of feel special that maybe there is a message there somewhere, you know.
Perhaps the doctor's wife still lingers at the site of her cruel death, determined to protect female guests from a fate like her own.
I can only draw from myself and say maybe she's sort of warning us.
Whatever their intent, staff say the ghosts of the Langham remain, forever tied to the site of their tragic demise.
It would be odd, I suppose, if we were to be asked and we had no history of any ghosts. I think it is quite accepted that a building of this kind, of that age, has had ghosts.
Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna read another, so that was Haunted Hotels, and now that Haunted Hotels is already been filmed by the Travel Channel, so maybe Ghost Train can do the same thing. Ghost Train can be next. They can have a narrator, and if you're a narrator or a producer or even a director, and you like ghost stories, you like the people going back in time, like you saw in Haunted Hotels, telling the story, returning as spirits and stuff like that. So for example, the White Woman of Silver Run in Ghost Train. The White Woman of Silver Run, the B&O engineer A young man was proud to be on the westbound express run that evening. His train was leaving Gravitane, West Virginia for Clarksburg and Partsburg. The express made the Clarksburg, West Virginia stop without an incident and was off again. The train was nearing Silver Run Tunnel when the engineer saw a woman in a white gown standing on the track. She was lit by the headlight and the half moon overhead. The engineer threw the brakes into emergency and the train screeched to a halt. The engineer knew he couldn't stop in time and prayed the woman would jump off the tracks. Suddenly she seemed to just glide down the track away from the engine. As the train came to a stop, the engineer and fireman jumped off and ran toward the woman. She disappeared into a fog bank that blanked the track ahead. The train's conductor came running up, wondering about the cause of the emergency stop. He and the engineers searched the tracks ahead. They found nothing, so they took the train on its way again. So I'm going to stop there. Now, what this story tells us about is the white woman of Silver Run basically haunts the tunnel of Silver Run. So the train conductor came running up and wondering about the cause of the emergency stop. He and the engineers searched the track. They found nothing, so they took the train on its way again. The young engineer had the run every other night. He asked around and found that the other man on the run had never seen the woman. By the time in the next run, the young engineer was thinking he might have just seen a patch of fog or some such. The express was running towards Silver Run Tunnel that night with the young engineer at the throttle when the woman in white appeared again, this time as it to prove she was real. The young man could see many details about her golden slippers, jet black hair, and jeweled booch pinned to the neckline of her dress. The engineer put the train into emergency again. When the train stopped, the engineer, fireman, and conductor again searched the woman. She had disappeared and they could find no trace of her. So what this story tells you guys, just like you saw in Haunted Hotels, and just like you saw all the episodes of Haunted Hotels, Ghost Train can have episodes too. Ghost Train can have episodes too, just like Haunted Hotels. And like I said earlier, if you're a narrator and a director and a producer, and if you think Ghost Train should be a documentary on the Travel Channel and Discovery Channel also, you can find out. You can find out, okay? You can find out and let me know that. The crew was afraid to delay the express any longer, so the engineer blew a warning whistle at the and the train started off again. After that, the woman in white didn't appear for a month or so until the next half moon. As the train approached the tunnel that night, the woman was standing at her usual spot. The young engineer stopped the train, then blew the whistle and started off again. This time, there was a new manifestation. The whistle was answered by a horrible moan. This third delay was too much. And the once proud young engineer was put back on a freight. A new engineer, O'Flaherty, was put on the express. All right, so let's talk about O'Flaherty here. O'Flaherty became the engineer on the new express. He saw the woman too. It says right here. He saw the woman too. The express's fireman, told the young engineer all about it. It was a clear autumn night. The engineer saw the woman, made an emergency stop, and ran after her. She disappeared into a fog bank, the only fog the crew had sighted that evening. The fog bank then quickly faded. O'Flaherty was rattled. The fireman said he thought he saw the woman on the track after the train started up again. Then he thought he saw her once when the fireman opened the firebox doors. He left the engine that night muttering he ran the woman down if he ever sighted her again. So O'Flaherty's next run was one that was long remembered on the B&O. The fireman told the young engineer about it. It seems that O'Flaherty did see the woman in white that night and didn't stop. He ran right over her ghostly form. She seemed to disappear, but when the train got to Partsburg, the crew found they were the subject of a lot of talk. The woman in white had been sighted by single men agents and section men from the tunnel all the way to Partsburg, sitting gracefully on the engine's cowcatcher or something. The men in the Partsburg Tower reported they saw the woman on the cowcatcher as the train approached. They said that as it slowed for the station, the express passed through a patch of fog, and the woman simply disappeared. O'Flaherty had a nervous breakdown and was off the board for quite a while. The railroad company was getting worried about all the talk, and some railroad agents made inquiries. They found that a woman had disappeared from the express 25 years earlier. She was on her way to Partsburg to meet her fiance, but never arrived. She was never heard of again. Many years later, the young engineer, now getting old, heard the skeleton of a woman had been found by workmen digging in a cellar under an old house near Silver Run. After that, the white woman of Silver Run was never seen again. But old-timers say you could still hear her when the half moon hung low over the hills. Nights like that, when a train whistled near the tunnel at midnight, the whistle was answered by a woman's moan. The sentiment of the B&O main line to St. Louis was abandoned by its successor CSX in the mid-1980s. So according to that story, the railroad is abandoned, but the tunnel and the woman is still there. You can still hear her. You can still see her too. So with that being said, Ghost Train and Haunted Hotels have episodes. Ghost Train can have episodes too, just like Haunted Hotels does. And if it does, there can be season 1, season 2, season 3, and season 4, and season 5, and season 6. So let me know if Ghost Train can have episodes and seasons and be on the Travel Channel and Discovery Channel, hopefully one day. So give this video a thumbs up. You guys, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I'm going to get back to Haunted Hotels now.
Small town of Lenox, Massachusetts.
And I'm going to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell, and I will see you guys for more Ghost Train stories and more episodes, okay? Okay, bye everybody. Bye.